Hello? Kyle here. I just wanted to record a message for those new to the channel. Welcome to One Up Binge, a magical place for kids and grown-ups alike, for those that need a one-up in life. Anyway, with the new movie in the works, today we're going to be going over Five Nights at Freddy's fan theories. But I did want to give some advice. It's not a big deal. It's just recommended that you leave the lights on. And maybe lock your doors. Not that you would be in any danger, of course. I'm not implying that. But just as a precaution. Talk to you soon.
First off, let's get the theories out of the way that have been debunked. These theories are BS. First off, we have the Chuck E. Cheese tragedy. The theory that the story of the first Five Nights at Freddy's game was based on a real-life tragedy involving the deaths of 5 employees of a Chuck E. Cheese restaurant was popularized by MatPat on his YouTube channel, The Game Theorists. This theory suggested that the game's creator, Scott Cawthon, was inspired by the real-life tragedy, and that he incorporated elements of it into the game. This theory was based on several similarities between the game and the tragedy. For example, both settings have animatronic animals and were popular family-friendly restaurants. Additionally, both the game and the real-life tragedy involved the deaths of 5 people. However, this theory was debunked by later games in the series, which delved deeper into the supernatural elements of the game. The later games revealed that the animatronics were possessed by the spirits of children who were killed by a serial killer, rather than by the souls of the employees who died in the Chuck E. Cheese tragedy. Furthermore, Scott Cawthon, the creator of the game, has stated that the story of Five Nights at Freddy's is entirely fictional and not based on any real-life events. He's also stated that he did not know about the Chuck E. Cheese tragedy until after the game was released, and he never intended to make any references to it in the game. As such, we consider this theory BS. Moving on to the game is just a dream. The theory that the events of the first 3 Five Nights at Freddy's games were the dreams of the protagonist from the 4th game, Evan Afton, was first introduced by a Reddit user named Little Purple Kid. The theory was based on the change in the clock sound that played at the end of each night in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. The theory suggested that the sound of the digital alarm clock indicated that the events of the game were a dream, as Evan had been woken up from his nightmare by the sound of the clock. The theory gained a lot of traction among fans as it seemed to explain some of the inconsistencies and unanswered questions in the series. However, it was later debunked by future installments of the franchise, which provided a more concrete explanation for the events in the game. In particular, the 5th game, Sister Location, introduced the character of Michael Afton, who is revealed to be the older brother of Evan Afton. It is strongly suggested that Michael is the protagonist of the first game, and that the events of the series are not the dreams of Evan, but rather the consequences of the actions of his father, William Afton, who is responsible for the creation and subsequent possession of the animatronics. Thus, we consider this theory BS. Moving on from the BS, these next theories still have a lot of problems. Not enough to say they're completely debunked, but still. These theories are full of holes. First, we have Gregory could be a robot. The theory about Gregory being a robotic recreation of Evan is one of the most controversial theories in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. MatPat, the creator of the Game Theorists, presented the theory by drawing comparisons between the outfits of the 2 characters. He suggested that William Afton rebuilt Evan as a robotic child after the bite of 83 to preserve his memories and identity. The theory speculates that Gregory is the animatronic version of Evan, and the reason for the error in Freddy's system at the beginning of Security Breach. One piece of evidence that supports the theory is the fact that Evan's fate after the bite of 83 is never explicitly revealed in the game. It is also known that William Afton is capable of creating animatronics that can fool people into thinking they're human, as seen with the character of Michael Afton in previous games. Moreover, Gregory's behavior in the game, such as his ability to hack into Freddy's system, suggests that he is not entirely human. However, the theory has also been criticized for having several holes. For instance, it is unclear why William Afton would want to preserve Evan's identity, given that he was responsible for his son's death. Furthermore, Gregory's appearance and behavior do not provide any direct connection to Evan, such as having similar memories or experiences. The game's developers have not confirmed or denied the theory, leaving it open to interpretation. While some fans believe that it is possible, many think that it's far-fetched and unsupported by evidence. Moving on to Golden Freddy has two souls. The theory that there are two souls inhabiting Golden Freddy in Five Nights at Freddy's was first proposed by a Reddit user named Samantha D101. The theory suggests that Golden Freddy is inhabited by two spirits, Evan Afton and Cassidy. The theory is based on hidden clues and Easter eggs found in the Five Nights at Freddy's survival logbook. In the book, there are a series of random notes that imply a conversation with the crying girl. While some speculated that this was a conversation between the ghost and the previous owner of the book, others theorized that it was an interaction between the two spirits inhabiting Golden Freddy. According to the theory, Evan Afton is the younger brother of Michael Afton, who is the protagonist of Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. Evan was killed by his father, William Afton, and became trapped in the Golden Freddy suit. The other spirit, Cassidy, was one of William Afton's victims and also became trapped in the same suit. The theory has some holes, however. For one, there is no direct evidence in the games that there are two souls inhabiting Golden Freddy. Additionally, it is not clear how two souls could inhabit the same suit, and it's not explained why Evan and Cassidy would be communicating with each other in the survival logbook. Furthermore, the Fazbear Frights book series, which the theory cites as evidence for its validity, has been criticized by some fans for its inconsistent and contradictory storytelling. Some of the stories in the books have been known to contradict the established Five Nights at Freddy's lore, leading many to question how canonical the series is. This inconsistency and lack of clarity only adds to the confusion and uncertainty surrounding this theory. Some argue that the theory explains the strange behavior of Golden Freddy, including its ability to appear and disappear at will, and its direct communication with the player. Ultimately, the truth about Golden Freddy's origins and its mysterious nature remains a topic of debate and speculation among fans. With that said, we're now in the middle category, where we may stumble into some truth. Maybe. These theories are the possible. Starting with, Purple Guy is not purple. In the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, the Purple Guy is a mysterious and elusive character who is often associated with the animatronic murders. However, a theory proposed by Reddit user Josh challenges the commonly accepted idea that the Purple Guy is purple because he is in the shadows. Instead, the theory suggests that the purple color is a result of black lights. According to the theory, if the Purple Guy was in the shadows, he would appear as a dark purple color. However, he is often depicted as a light pink/purple color, which is not consistent with the shadow theory. The theory proposes that the Purple Guy wears white, like many security guards, which turns purple under black lights. The Five Nights Help Wanted game also adds to this theory, as black lights are used in the restaurants and add a purple color to Glitch Trap, a character associated with the Purple Guy. Additionally, the theory suggests that the black lights were an integral part of the Purple Guy's actions. The Pizza Party minigame in Help Wanted shows how he would lure kids in with cool lights, which would be easier than luring them in with no lights and darkness. The End of Night minigames in FNAF 3 also support this theory, as the animatronics that the Purple Guy disassembles should also be purple if they were in the shadows. However, there are some arguments against this theory. It is not clear whether black lights were actually used in the FNAF restaurants or whether they were solely a feature of the Help Wanted game. Additionally, the idea that the Purple Guy wears white is not supported by any other evidence in the games or the lore. Overall, this theory falls into the possible category, meaning it has some supporting evidence, but also has some holes. As with many Five Nights at Freddy's theories, it is difficult to determine what is true and what is not, but does add an interesting perspective on the Purple Guy's identity. Moving on to our next category, these conspiracies make a lot of sense. In fact, we think they're more likely to be true than not. These theories are probable. First, we have Freddy's handprint. According to a theory proposed by Reddit user Ogva, the handprint seen on Freddy's face in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 may have actually been made by Freddy himself. The theory suggests that the animatronics of the pizzeria were not mere machines, but had some degree of self-awareness and autonomy. This is supported by various clues, including the fact that the animatronics seem to move on their own accord and display unusual behavior that cannot be easily explained by traditional programming. One piece of evidence that supports this theory is the handprint on Freddy's face, which appears to be deliberately placed. The location of the handprint corresponds exactly to where Freddy's hand would be when he's moving his mask, suggesting that it was intentionally placed there as a form of communication. Furthermore, the direction of the thumb on the handprint matches the natural position of Freddy's thumb when he is holding his mask, which seems to indicate that the handprint was made by Freddy himself rather than by any other entity. Another compelling piece of evidence in favor of this theory is the character of Golden Freddy. It has been suggested that Golden Freddy may have been a prototype animatronic with more advanced programming, which allowed him to become self-aware and possess the ability to teleport and manipulate the environment. Taken together, these various clues and hints suggest that the animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's may have been imbued with some level of consciousness and autonomy. While it may seem far-fetched at first glance, this theory fits in well with the overall themes and motifs of the series, and seems more likely to be true than not. Finally, we've reached the truth. Confirmed truth. People have blown the whistle on these theories with such compelling evidence that they must be true, or a creator has confirmed it. These theories are the truth bombs. Bite of 87 was caused by Toy Bonnie. This theory by Reddit user Andro451 suggests that Toy Bonnie caused the bite of 87 in Five Nights at Freddy's, and it's a popular theory among fans of the series. The general consensus is that it was Toy Bonnie who inflicted the attack on the victim, Jeremy Fitzgerald, due to his large, sharp teeth that could easily break through the frontal bone of the skull. First off, let's look at the suspects in Five Nights 2. We can eliminate the withered animatronics, the puppet, BB, and JJ from the list, as they're either not functioning properly or are too small to cause such damage. Toy Freddy and Toy Chica can also be ruled out as their endoskeletons are not suitable for biting. This leaves us with Toy Bonnie as the most likely culprit. Scott Cawthorne, the series creator, has always had a fascination with Bonnie, as evidenced by his numerous iterations of the character in the series. In fact, Bonnie's design was changed drastically between Five Nights 1 and 2, which could suggest that Fazbear Entertainment wanted to distance themselves from the cute and friendly Toy Bonnie after the incident. Furthermore, it's worth noting that Jeremy Fitzgerald was replaced the night after the bite of 87, which strongly suggests that he was the victim of the attack. Phone Guy's order for Jeremy to stay close to the animatronics also places him in the vicinity of Toy Bonnie, making him the most likely candidate for the attacker. It's also worth considering that the bite of 87 occurred during the day, which rules out the possibility of the animatronics malfunctioning during the night. Toy Bonnie's sharp teeth and powerful bite would have been more than enough to cause the damage described in the game. So in conclusion, while we may never have definitive proof on who caused the bite of 87 in Five Nights at Freddy's, the evidence strongly suggests that it was Toy Bonnie who inflicted the attack on Jeremy Fitzgerald. Finally, we have Killer is William Afton. One theory for this series stands out as one of the most solid. The theory that William Afton is the infamous killer who dons an animatronic mask to lure children to a secret back room and murder them. There are numerous pieces of evidence to support this theory. In the novel adaptation of the game series, Five Nights at Freddy's: The Silver Eyes, William Afton is depicted as a twisted and sadistic individual who is responsible for the deaths of numerous children. He even goes as far as to wear an animatronic mask in order to blend in with the other robots and evade detection. Furthermore, the infamous minigame in the original Five Nights at Freddy's game, where the player must control the puppet and give life to the murdered children, strongly implies that the puppet is a force for good and is seeking to right the wrongs of the killer. This suggests that William Afton is not the puppet, as some fans have theorized, but rather the antagonist of the series. Additionally, the various clues and hints throughout the game, such as the handprint on Freddy's face and the mysterious character of Golden Freddy, all seem to point towards William Afton as the main villain. The fact that he wears an animatronic mask to carry out his nefarious deeds only adds to the chilling atmosphere of the games. Overall, it's clear that the theory that William Afton is the killer in the Five Nights at Freddy's series is probably the most solid and well-supported theory among fans. The evidence is overwhelming, and the various hints and clues throughout the games all seem to point towards this conclusion.